There are many markets where there are only a few major companies competing with one another. How do economists think about those situations? Economists call markets where there are only a few sellers competing oligopoly. I'm Professor Chad Syverson, and this is Economics for Everyone. Today we're going to talk about an example of one of the two market structures that fall between the two extremes of perfect competition and monopoly. An oligopoly is the market structure that applies when there are just a few firms competing. Unlike in the two extremes, when dealing with oligopolistic competition, we must consider the interactions between the firms. If you've ever bought an airline ticket, you've participated in an oligopoly market. Consider buying toothpaste. Most of the options, like Colgate and Crest, are made by only a few big firms. This is an example of an oligopoly. Oligopolies are tricky to analyze. Depending on the circumstances, all sorts of market outcomes can occur. There are many considerations. The company may choose to set price or quantity. The products might be homogeneous or differentiated. Today we'll talk about when there are homogeneous goods and firms are choosing their prices. One of the simplest examples of oligopoly is an industry with only two competing firms. This is called a duopoly. Consider two landscape companies, Annie's Landscaping and Bob's Landscaping. They both offer the same services of the same quality with the same marginal cost of, say, $30. With only two firms, you may think this market power would lead to a high price. Annie and Bob, when setting prices, have to consider demand. What's actually relevant for them is their residual demand curve. That is, the demand that's not met by the other firm in the market, and therefore depends on the price of the other firm in the market. Let's think about Annie's demand under three conditions. Annie's price is higher than Bob's price, Annie's price is equal to Bob's price, and Annie's price is less than Bob's. Annie and Bob both want to maximize their profits. Just like any firm, this is done by setting marginal costs equal to marginal revenue. So, how should both determine the prices that they set? Annie and Bob must consider how the other company's decisions affect their own. Suppose Annie sets her price at $50, and Bob responds by setting his at $45. What will happen? Because the products are homogeneous, Bob will get all the demand with his lower price. What's Annie's next move? Well, if she wants any demand, to lower her price slightly below $45, say $40. Now the situation is reversed. So what's Bob going to do? Because a price below $40 is still above his marginal cost, he'll do the same thing. Can you see where this is going? Price will end up being equal to marginal cost, at which point neither company will have an incentive to undercut the other. Interestingly, even with just two companies, you get the perfectly competitive outcome here. Price equals marginal cost. This isn't a general oligopoly result. It's specific to an oligopoly where the products are homogeneous and the companies are choosing price. And now you know how to think about how the market works in this situation, because economics is for everyone.